Hello, this is Photography Gamer, and today's review is Shenmue 2, which is part of the remastered Shenmue 1 and 2 collection for the PlayStation. So Shenmue 2 is a sequel to the 1999 episode. This came out originally in 2001, published by Sega and made by Yu Suzuki. For those who haven't played Shenmue 1, you might want to skip this next bit because I'll just kind of basically say what happens in the first game. So Shenmue 1, Ryo Hazuki's is the boy that you play in the game. His dad's killed by a Chinese man called Lan Di. Long story short, he finds out they've got some historical connection between Lan Di and his father. It leads him to finding that he needs to go to Hong Kong to investigate further to find Lan Di. So at the end he basically gets on a boat and he goes to Hong Kong. So Shenmue 2 begins with you on the boat. So you're on a big kind of industrial boat heading to Hong Kong. You're pulling up at the pier, and that's kind of where the game really excels, in my opinion. Like one of these, I've traveled a lot in my past, and I've got on boats and I've arrived in countries at piers and at land borders and airports. When you arrive on a water border, it's kind of like you get off and you're on the pier and it's like you're in a new country. It's a weird feeling. They've captured that. It's kind of like everyone's there trying to sell you stuff, trying to get you to buy things, to go with them to a hostel, to do this, to do that. People are trying to rip you off, steal your bags, all that kind of stuff. They captured the essence of what it's like for a young traveller, like a solo traveller, entering a new place that's completely foreign. They've definitely got that vibe down. So the main character again, you're Ryo Hazuki, the young Japanese boy who's trying to avenge his father's death. He's a little bit older, a little bit wiser, but he's still very green because he knows Japan, but he doesn't know Hong Kong, and Hong Kong's kind of a crazy place if you've ever been there. So the first part is really just you trying to get to grips with the new surroundings, new music to go with it, new people. It's a lot busier, it's a lot more built up. It's not like the small town Japan. So the atmosphere of the game is different in terms of the environments. It feels more, it feels like there's more going on. It feels like a hustle and bustle of a city. And that's one thing I would say this game really does well. It really captures the essence of Hong Kong. Anyone who's travelled there will understand, it's a crazy place in many ways. Beautiful, busy. It's a real hybrid of West and East kind of mashed together. It's a very interesting place, and they've really captured that well. I mean, the game, it's pretty much similar to the first game, just a different surrounding. But the principles are the same. Lots of detective work, lots of combat, mini games, conversations, quirkiness, all that kind of stuff. So the genre, it's like an open world game, but on a small scale. It has lots of narrative development, lots of kind of investigative elements, combat and training, martial arts elements, mini games, arcades, all kind of stuff like that. And those are just like the sidelines that go along with the main story as Ryo is investigating this kind of criminal underworld of the Chinese underworld, the Hong Kong underworld, and how he kind of deals with that. So you will come up against a lot of gangs and criminals in this, because the further Ryo goes into the story, the more he sees that there's a kind of a bigger picture to the crime element and the kind of what Lan Di was trying to do and who he's associated with. So Ryo's really getting into murky territory with some of the shady characters in this game for sure. But playing Shenmue is a very unique experience. It's a very slow-paced game, and it makes you feel like a sort of a naive young boy. They really capture that, because you have a map in this game. The game has added certain things, like this time you have a map on the screen, but even that doesn't really help. You still have to ask people how to get around. If you were in another country and you were trying to find somewhere to meet someone, but you didn't know how to get there, before GPS in the 90s, you just ask people, they point you in a direction, you follow their guidance. You do feel quite helpless as Ryo. He's not in control, he's just kind of relying on the help of strangers and trying to survive all these kind of dangerous situations, trying to uncover the story, trying to uncover the truth, trying to find Lan Di while dealing with conflicts, making friends, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of it's a real coming of age kind of style of game in terms of the story. The unique elements from the first game are back. There's still the day-night cycle. There's still lots of mini details like toys, arcades. You can get a multitude of different jobs in this game. One of the jobs is possibly the most annoying in the world. It's carrying a box at the pier with this guy, and he's just got this voice that just makes you want to punch him in the face, and it's so irritating. They have added a time skip feature this time, which is a lifesaver, because in the first game you would literally just have to wait and wait and wait just to meet someone, and it was really quite tedious. This time, if you're there and it's 6 hours before, you can just skip time. So that is a really, really good addition. The map is a good addition. There are different jobs, that's interesting, but there are still the kind of laborious, long-winded tendencies of the game, which can get a little bit kind of a grind at times, but generally there's a little bit more snap to the game. It feels a little bit more pacey. Like, it's the little details that Shenmue 2 gets right about travel in Hong Kong. It's like when you arrive, you kind of meet this local girl, and then she kind of points you in the direction of a hostel because you don't have much money, you've lost your bags and stuff. You go, it's a really shady little grotty place. You walk up the stairs, you're in a tiny little room. You go to the window, you look out and you think, what the hell? And like anyone who's travelled, like they've been in those sort of situations, you know, it's really kind of feels like the game developers have travelled themselves. Graphically, there's definitely slightly more polish to Shenmue 2. It came out 2 years after the first one. It does feel like there's more detail, smoothness. It just has a little bit more to it. The animation is the same as the first game. It's not like groundbreaking, it's kind of functional and a little bit clunky and dated, but it's okay. Environmentally, the environments and the graphics of Hong Kong are really done well. I have to say, like Aberdeen, Wan Chai, or whatever they call it now, all the different regions in Hong Kong, they've really done a good job. It really feels different. It feels like Hong Kong. It doesn't feel like Japan, so it feels like a real departure. Dynamic weather also is there, maybe less so. It's more kind of, seems like it's more regular weather. But yeah, graphically, it's a slight improvement to Shenmue 1, but it's not like a groundbreaking improvement. It's just little things you notice. You think it looks a little bit nicer, a little bit more polished. Again, there's no camera mode because this was way before social media, way before camera modes really took off, so that's not featured. So the music to the game, this time obviously we're set in Hong Kong, so it's more of a Chinese, Cantonese, I don't know, there's like more kind of elements. It's not like the Japanese music, it's slightly different, but it all feels very nice and smooth. The voice acting in this one is much better. There are still some cheesy moments, but on the whole it's a vast improvement. It's not like the first game where you had like some horrendous ones, but that's definitely improved. And the sound effects are pretty decent. Like, maybe it's not massively different to the first one, but it's still strong. And the kind of the ambience of the parts of the town are sort of okay, similar to the first game. They're not like as detailed as modern day games, but they still hold up and they're still solid. So what are the good points and the bad points of this game? The good points are it's much bigger. The game is probably about 3 times the size. You can now skip time, so there's none of this laborious waiting around sort of rubbish. You also have now the map, which helps you get around, so you can kind of at least sort of plan your route, but it's still quite easy to get lost in this game. The bad points of the game, it can be quite slow. Again, you know, you do sort of get 3/4 through and think, you know, it can get a little bit tiresome. I think because modern games have changed in terms of the tempo and the pacing, so it's very kind of classical Japanese pacing, like whether it's cinema or games. They're very slow and deliberate and they take their time, but if you kind of allow yourself to kind of immerse into that sort of patient approach, you will really get a lot out of this game. If you want to rush through it, you're probably going to not enjoy it as much, I'd say. So, the verdicts, what do I think? Who should buy this game? I think if you enjoy slow-paced narrative pieces, if you enjoy Asian kind of thematic stories, if you enjoy the sort of style of games that Japan produce, if you like sort of role-playing as a character who's traveling, who's kind of doing kung fu, being a detective, you know, trying to unravel a mystery, and you're not in a massive rush, this is definitely the game for you. If you're an action fan, it's not going to be a good choice for you, I'd say. So what am I going to give this game out of 10? Well, I gave Shenmue 1 8 out of 10 because I felt it was, you know, it wasn't perfect, but it was very good. And I mean, this game, it's no worse. It has some elements that make it better in some ways, but not to a degree that are completely life-changing. So I would give Shenmue 2 8 out of 10 because I think it's solid. It's the same as the first one in terms of quality. There's just more of it and it's in a different place, but it doesn't make like massive changes that make it fundamentally a huge improvement on the first game, but it's just more of the same. If you want to continue the story, then Shenmue 2 is great. It gives you more of that kind of vibe and there's plenty to do, and it's all kind of fresh in terms of location and characters, and you will kind of enjoy it if you enjoyed Shenmue 1. So that was Shenmue 2. Quite a quick review because I feel like I covered a lot in the first game. It doesn't really feel like another game. It's just like you could put Shenmue 1 and 2 in the same package and just play them as a whole sequence. So it doesn't feel like a sequel in that respect. It just feels like a continuation. It's more of the same. Good game. I enjoyed it. I'd recommend if you're going to get Shenmue 3, you should play 1 and 2, really get the backstory, and then when 3 comes out, you can really immerse into it. So that was my review of Shenmue 2. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like the video, subscribe, comment, click on the bell if you approve and you want to continue the journey of watching my stuff and see what I'm going to do next. That would all be really appreciated. Hope everyone has a good day. This has been Photography Gamer reviewing Shenmue 2. Thank you.